Well done. Your lords and masters.
Hello and welcome to day 16 of the GOA Advent Calendar. I'm Callum. How are you all doing? Welcome to day 16. I'm filling up a spot this year, I know. Oh, God forbid. But yes, today, for day 16 of the Advent Calendar, I hope you're all buckled in and ready to go. Today, I am going to be doing my Doctor Who unpopular opinion. So, I think it was 2 years ago, both Connor and Adam did this, and I think they went rather well. So today I'll be doing my unpopular opinion. I hope you're all ready for that. I know I am quite the strange figure in the sort of Doctor Who criticism world, especially within the last years. This year, in fact, very strange year for all of us. But make sure to go and follow GOA on Twitter. Make sure you go to check out Genesis of Androzani on Patreon as well. Make sure to check out Connor's letterbox and stuff. You can probably find my channel hopefully in the description, maybe along with my Twitter, if you want to go check out my terrible opinions apparently about either Doctor Who, Spider-Man, comics, TV. If you want to see me, praise the hell out of Bly Manor, then go and be my guest, because yeah. But yes, today we were doing my unpopular opinion on Doctor Who. So here we go. My unpopular opinion is that the Moffat era is not good at all. Yes, I am going to be showing my reasonings as to why I believe this. So I hope you're all ready. So why do I think that the Moffat era is actually quite bad? So my reasonings are, if we're going and taking all of his seasons, so we got series 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 6 seasons. I think only 2 of them are good. 2 of them are good out of 6. And that is series 5 and series 10. Series 5 and 10 are the only seasons in the Moffat era I can actually say are well crafted, and not even themselves, they're not perfect. Series 5 I think is a very, very, very great season of Doctor Who. I'm currently rewatching it right now and I'm having a really good time with it. I'm enjoying pretty much most of it. I think 11th Hour, I put this up on my Twitter earlier, a couple of weeks ago. It's amazing. It's a fantastic, fantastic episode of television and a brilliant way to start off this era with a brand new Doctor. Everything about it, spot on, well written, everything. And then you've got Series 10, which I think is a very, very solid season and a very good season for Capaldi. Off of the bad, episodes of Hellbent and whatnot. It was very nice to just have a very simple season with just some really, really good, well-written episodes. It really felt like Moffat was really back to his strengths and he really hit it home with a lot of the aspects of it being well-crafted, well-realised, and having a really, really good finale. So, obviously then we get to the other seasons. Series 6 we will start off with. That season is very bad, but the reason why it's so bad, because in that season there's actually quite a lot of really good self-contained stories. God Complex, Go Who Waited, Doctor's Wife, they're all very, very good and well written. Some of the best, I would say, in the Moffat era. But what really damages it, and becomes one of my least favourite seasons of the show, is this overall story arc of Series 6, which is River Song. River Song was someone that was hyped up since Series 4. Obviously, Forest of the Dead. We were so intrigued in what her story was, because her story and concept as a character was so interesting to everybody, because it's someone who knows everything about the Doctor, but when we first meet them, it's at the end of their life. That is such an interesting concept to explore, and once Moffat took over, when Russell T Davies left, that was probably one of the biggest things people were looking forward to seeing if River Song would either return, and if she did, what was her story? How did she meet the Doctor? how come they're so close? Because clearly in that story with Tennant and River, they're very close. They're clearly quite a bonded pair. And in Series 6, we do get that. It's just not very good. It's not well realised. It's rushed. It's also poorly written and just totally out of whack. The Series 6 finale is just so messy. It's so convoluted and it's just so all over the place. It makes River Song a quite bad character. And it's a shame because I really like the actress. I think the actress is fantastic. But this story that is written for her and the Doctor is really poorly done. The whole story with the silence and... I can't remember what her name was, the woman with the eye patch. That whole story is so poorly done. It's so weird that the whole story is just... We're learning about River's past and it's kind of confusing at some points, but it's also just when you sit down and just look at it, a lot of things don't make sense. And it's more to do maybe with the episodes themselves. Like Wedding of River Song is a terrible, terrible finale. It's probably like the second or third worst finale in the show. Just the story between the Doctor and River is just so weird. The reveal at A Good Man Goes to War, while when you first think about it, is really interesting. Amy and Rory's daughter being River is a interesting reveal, but when you think about it, is it that big? Is it a story that really is going to capture you? And as we go on with Let's Kill Hitler, it gets bad real quick. So any interest or any positive feeling you have going into that is just wiped away because of how poor that story is and how poor this sort of introduction of River Song as a character is. That whole story as her being her birth as River Song is very bad. So that ruins any sort of interest, ruins any sort of build up to that. It's just so bad, it ruins a lot, and that's a shame because when we first meet her in Series 4, she's fantastic, she's great, and we actually want to learn more about her, but then when we learn what she is, what she does, who she is as a person, it's just bad. It's poorly written, it's poorly constructed, and Moffat really had a massive miss in his second season. It was just a really, really bad season. The overall story is quite bad. And that's a shame because Series 6 has a lot of really, really well written episodes. Like I said, Doctor's Wife, God Complex, all that. It's a really, really... It's a weird season because there's so many... Not so many. There's 4 really, really good episodes. And then some average episodes. And then there's a lot of bad ones like Closing Time. Jesus Christ, that's such a poorly done episode. It's so bad. Again, a story with the power of love, but it being poorly executed. Just terrible. Obviously, the finale, like we said, very, very poorly done. And then you've got The Rebel Flesh. Terrible two-parter with a concept in part 2 that's actually really interesting. 2 doctors, the same doctor, and this element of distrust of what is apparently the fake doctor. I think that's such an interesting concept, but it's wasted in a really, really bad story. So Series 6, terrible. It's not a good season, and despite having a couple of episodes that are really well done, really well written, and well done overall, they're harmed because of the season. The season story is absolutely terrible and is poorly done. So that's Series 6, and then we get on to what I would argue is the worst season of New Who, Series 7. Series 7 has not got one very good episode in it. Not one. The closest is A Town Called Mercy. That's actually a pretty decent episode, but it's not fantastic. There's holes you can poke at it. Everything else, terrible. I wholeheartedly believe that every episode is terrible. Even episodes that have nice moments in them, like Angels Take Manhattan, has massive problems. The fucking Statue of Liberty being an angel is such a massive plot hole. How could something that big get to where that location is from the island it's on without being seen? That is absolutely stupid. That makes no sense, and it never even comes up again. It's just a massive thing. It's just a set piece that doesn't amount to anything, and it's terrible and makes no sense. And there's just so many holes you can pick out from that episode too. But the good parts about that episode are obviously Amy and Rory and the Doctor. That final scene with Amy is really good, but then there's a lot of really poorly done stuff in that episode. Obviously you got a sign of the Daleks, which is absolutely terrible. Introduces this weird subplot with Amy and Rory that is not needed, never is mentioned again, despite it being there like last few episodes. It's kind of pointless in every single way. And then you get like the second half of the season. Clara Oswald is one of the most bland characters the show has ever had in Series 7. She's literally nothing. She's a nanny, and that's it. She likes kids, she likes learning or giving her experience to kids, but they never even bring that up. With Clara, what they could have done is like explain why she goes on the TARDIS. What is the reason for it? Is instead of just she wants to explore time and space, which is fine, we would all do that, but it doesn't make it an interesting character because we all would do that. What could have been really nice for her is that she wants to go on these adventures to tell stories, which would then play into her becoming a teacher, but that's never brought up in Series 7. That's never something that she aspires to be. She just becomes a teacher out of nowhere, no build up whatsoever. Even she has this like caring for kids, which is great. It's a first step, but they could have brought up something about her ambitions of being a teacher, because the reason why she took the nanny job was this first step of her becoming a teacher, her becoming a figure for kids to learn from. But we never get that in Series 7. But then with that, we get her being the most important figure in the Doctor's life at that point. Just the whole Impossible Girl story is downright terrible and terribly done and unearned. It is not earned at all. It's just a terrible, terrible story of Clara, who is a bland character but is then put on this pedestal of being the most important figure in the Doctor's life. Not earned at all. It's not earned in any way. And then you get Matt Smith's Doctor, which both in Series 6 and 7 is probably at its worst. Becoming more childlike, but then with that becoming more stupid, become more unrealistically stupid. The Doctor can be stupid, and the reason they always do that is because there's so much information going in his brain. That's a constant thing that is very apparent, especially in New Who. But then he becomes more stupid and more childlike with no actual explanation in any way. And it becomes unrealistically stupid, unrealistically childlike. And it's annoying, it's just a distraction, and it's written terribly. And the performance from Matt Smith is not good when he does these moments. Series 5, he's fantastic, I would argue. And I think there's a lot of people recently who have been downplaying it. But I think it's great, and I think in Series 6 and 7 he's not good, and it's a shame because he's a really, really good actor. So yeah, in the Series 7 arc, like I said, with the Impossible Girl, again, another poorly done season. It's just so bad. But then that leads into the 50th special, which is great, and she's not that much of a figure in it, and there's a reason for that, because she's not very good. If she was more of a figure in that story, then the story would suffer 100%. But then we get into Series 8 with Capaldi's introduction, and Series 8 is such a weird one because there are little bits of it that have some spark to it. There's some spark there, but then it just becomes unbearably just boring and dull, and then there's some stories that are just terribly written. Obviously we have, I think it's Forest of the Night, is that what it's called? I can't remember what the episode's called, but obviously we all know the one we're talking about with the child actors. We get Kill the Moon as well, which is downright politically stupid. It's just poorly written in every way. Even if like you want to have it be good, you want to do a political story, which is absolutely fine, you got to do the effort to write it well, and the writer does not. has just everything about that story just makes no sense. The planet having to vote, but only half of the world is visible from their perspective. I hate it. I hate that story so much. But your series 8 is like, and obviously the finale with Missy as well, that's poorly done as well. It's very unearned, and the whole, that bit with the Brigadier is done really out of taste. It's very tasteless, and I do not like that at all. Just no. But then the whole story just itself, poorly done. But especially the finale itself, Death in Heaven, just downright bad finale. Not a good finale at all. So like with series 8, there's not really much else I can really talk about it, because it is just a very dull season. With Clara, she becomes more of a character, but then she's a horrible person. Especially in Listen, that conversation at dinner when she has a conversation with Danny is just terrible. And I feel like no one ever criticizes her for it, because it's Clara. People, this weird obsession with Clara, but she's absolutely a terrible person. And the way she treats the Doctor as well in Kill the Moon is terrible. What he does, I fundamentally agree with. He gives Clara, who is a human being, who lives on Earth, that choice, that option, and to have that debate. He is not from Earth. He can call it his second home, sure, but he is not in control of Earth. Despite the whole president shit, he doesn't even agree with that. Respect is absolutely what he does. He respects Clara and allows her to make the choice. I hate that so much. And if you want to do that kind of story, you got to do more to earn those moments, and the writer doesn't. Yeah, I just don't like that season at all. It's better than something like a series 7 and a series 6, but it's still not good. There's still a lot of problems, like Flatline and Mummy on the Origin Express. Those are very, very good self-contained stories, but everything else around it, poor. Deep Breath, I think, is not a very good opening episode for Capaldi. I think that's kind of a hot take, because I think there's a lot of people that do, but I don't. I think it's quite poorly done, and it's quite dragged out, and the pacing is a bit off, and the whole scene with Clara just having a go at the Doctor for being old is ridiculous and stupid, considering in the last episode, Time with the Doctor, she literally said to the Doctor, "You change, you pop up with a brand new face. I've seen all of his faces. I know he goes old sometimes." Ridiculous, ridiculously bad. Especially when you look at McGann to War Doctor. How do you explain that? He gets old. Ugh, God. Ugh. Yeah. But then we get to Series 9, a season that is just so mixed in a lot of places, because it has 4 very, very, very good episodes. Like Heaven Sent, one of the best episodes Moffat ever wrote. Probably the best. But then you get stuff like Hellbent, which is one of the worst episodes ever made on television, not even just on Doctor Who. Sleep No More, terrible. Fucking Girl Who Died. I think that is. It's either Girl Who Died or Woman Who Died. Those 2 episodes, absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. And this whole season of Clara being obsessed is a story that could have worked. But then the Doctor being obsessed with Clara and the hybrid, this whole story and the story arc of that is just so poorly done. He wants his cake. Moffat wants to have his cake and eat it, but he can't be bothered to put in the work. It's a poor season. It's a very poorly done season. The season arc is unearned and is not even worked upon in any sort of way. The only thing that I would say is actually decent is Clara's obsession growing in strength as the season goes on, and it comes to a head in Face the Raven, and that's a beautiful, beautiful, tragic ending for her. But then they bring her back, and I've already gone over this in my own video on Hellbent, which we have covered on this channel on EDA. You all know my thoughts on it, and you know all the arguments I've made against it. You can't tell me it's a good episode. You can't. If you think it's good, you are wrong in almost every way. If you say like this is a very well done, well written piece of media, and it's well earned. No, it's not, and there's very clear problems with it, and if you don't believe that, then fine, you can like it, that's absolutely fine. Like with the Moffat era itself, you can like this era, but man, it has problems. It has so many problems with it that we're going to go over, that we've already gone over. But yeah, Series 9, I think, while it's better than Series 7, 6, and 8, not good at all either. But then we get Series 10 and Series 5, which are fantastic seasons. Both are very good. And that's the thing. Moffat's writing got so much worse as it went on. From Series 6 to Series 9, the writing just went downhill. And it really did. And it was mostly because Moffat was so preoccupied with Day of the Doctor during like Series 7. But a lot of other projects outside of that, and it clearly affected the show. It really did. And then just along with bad ideas, Clara being the impossible girl, but being an absolutely bland character is a bad idea. Having the Doctor be obsessed with travelling, and the reason being for that is just a weird thing called the hybrid, is a very bad idea. Him not caring about Gallifrey when he arrives in Gallifrey is a bad idea. Just bad ideas across the board. Some really good ones that are poorly executed, but then there's some of just terrible ideas that he just does, and it makes no sense why he would do those ideas. And I don't like them at all, and they're just poorly executed, poorly written in almost every single way. And with the Moffat era, it's like it only has a couple of really classic episodes. So obviously stuff like Heaven Sent, I would call a classic episode. I think Wild Enough in Time and Doctor Falls, I don't really consider them classics, but they're very good. They're very good. They have a couple of quite significant flaws, but they're very good episodes. 11th Hour, another classic, I would legit say. God Complex, I would say, is close to a classic, but then that's kind of it. I don't consider this era to have many classic episodes, like high bar, high quality writing episodes. With RTD, it was in bucket loads. You had like Wars of Mars, you had Girl in the Fireplace, you had Doomsday, you had Army of Ghosts, you had Impossible Planet, you had Dalek, you had Parting of the Ways, you had Forest of the Dead. Oh my god, Series 4 alone has more classics in the entirety of the Moffat era. Midnight, Turn Left. It's shocking to me sometimes that people would actually think that the RTD era is worse than Moffat's. That's actually kind of crazy to me, because I can just list off the amount of objectively well written episodes, and it would absolutely trash Moffat and Moffat's era. Moffat wrote better episodes in the RTD era than his own era, which is mad. Which I guess in a way makes sense, because under RTD, I don't think he's a very strict person, but you can tell he has this idea that he wants to execute, and he will make sure the story that either Moffat would write or any other writer would write fits into what he wants and is consistent with what he wants. The only part I would say where it didn't really fully do this would be Series 2. Obviously stuff like, God, I can't remember the episode on the top of my head. Idiot's Lantern, that's it. Not always on top of his game, but with Moffat, it felt like most of the time he didn't really know what he wanted to do, or at least he did, but didn't know how to execute it properly, especially with people like Clara. Clara as a character is so flawed in every way, becoming completely inconsistent every single season, and it not having an actual reason for these changes. From Series 7 to Series 8, there's no indication for any change. She just changes, and we don't get a reason for it. And the only sort of thing you could probably argue is the fact that the Doctor's old now, but that makes no sense considering the last episode, in Matt's last episode. It makes no sense. I don't get it. I don't get what Moffat was thinking. It's kind of ridiculous. And obviously we get some of the worst stories we've ever had in the show. Let's Kill Hitler, Sleep No More, Kill the Moon, Hellbent, Girl Who Died, Forest of the Night, whatever. There were just so many bad episodes, more so than the RTD era, which has only a couple. It has bad episodes, don't get me wrong, but on the level of Moffat's in his entire era of the show, I would not say so. I really wouldn't. And I also think, this might be a hot take as well, but I think something like Murray Gold's music, I think while it was good in Moffat's era, I think there are less sort of bangers than the RTD era. I think RTD era, the music throughout is just sublime. Throughout, almost every story has a unique track, a unique piece of music, and is really good. With the Moffat era, I think that there's so much reliance on, especially during the 11th Doctor's era, on I Am the Doctor, the amount of remixes, different versions of that song just playing throughout the era becomes very boring and becomes very just, why this track? As good as it is, why do you keep coming back to this? Why is there no original track for any of these other episodes, you know? It becomes quite overbearing. Yeah, I've just listed off all the reasons I think that the Moffat era is just quite poorly done. You know, it gets to the point where I'm like the Moffat era has good seasons, 5 and 10, very, very, very good seasons. Like Capaldi in the Moffat era, for example, I think it's like he goes on a rise. I think from series 8 he's quite poor, then series 9 he's okay, but then there's still a bit here and there that just doesn't really work, and then series 10, great. Him with Bill is brilliant. It's just so nice that Bill is just a normal person. There's no like, I'm the most important person in the universe. She's just Bill. She's just a character that is likable, you know. And it was just nice for once in series 10 to get that. It was a nice change of pace from Clara, who was just one of the worst characters I think the show's ever had. Like, and it's a shame because I think ideas for Clara, and especially Jenna Coleman, she's a fantastic actress. I think other work she's done has been brilliant, and I need to check them out at some point. But you can tell there's a good actress there. Same with Capaldi, but that goes without saying. They're wasted. They really are. And there's a bunch of people who come into the Moffat era who are completely wasted acting-wise, and, you know, it's a real shame because the writing for them is just so bad. It's not good. And it's more coming from a place of frustration because we know what Moffat can do. When he's at it, he is so at it. When he gets an episode concept and he just picks it out so perfectly, like 11th Hour, it's magical. It really is, and that goes along with what his sort of sees, what his era really is more like, with the Matt Smith era, sort of more the fairy tale aspect of it. And he pulls it off so well, and it's so frustrating when we get episodes that are just so poorly done that could have been so good with a song story. The Impossible Girl could have been good if you just earned it with this character. The Doctor becoming obsessed, that could have been good. That could have been good, but you didn't put any effort into it, so it makes no sense, and there's no build up to that moment. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And that's kind of everything I have to say. Like, I've gone over quite a bit. I've covered most of it in quite a summary kind of way. I've gone into detail in some of the seasons as well. So, like, yeah, those are like my reasons for the Moffat era not being good. Like, it just being bad, you know? Like, it's frustrating more than, like, anger, you know? It's just a real shame. So, yeah, that's kind of my reasonings for it. So, I know this wasn't particularly long. This was about 30 minutes or so. But that's because it's not hard to really critique this era in a sort of summary way. I think that series 5 and 10 are very good seasons. I do. And I think there's a lot of really good episodes in there. Amy's Choice is an episode I constantly go on about it being like a very underrated episode and probably the best of Series 5. I generally would argue that Amy's Choice is the best episode of Series 5. And Series 10 has a lot of great episodes. The finale itself is better than most of the Moffat era. But when we really pick it apart, this era has so many problems. It has so many problems. And I know there's a lot of people out there within the Doctor Who community that love this era, and that is fine. But then don't go and say, I'm wrong, and that this is actually a good era of the show. Because I can prove it's not. And list of reasons here that I've just pointed out. It's kind of obvious that this era just doesn't click the way Moffat wanted. Yeah, and there's a lot of episodes in here, like I said, that I really like, and I constantly revisit them. And when Moffat, again, when Moffat is at it, he is at it, and he gets an episode so right, he gets it so right. But when he gets it so wrong, it becomes so damaging to the show. And it's clearly evident in the viewer count, I would say. Like for Series 10, no one watched it. I watched it when it came out, but not a lot of people did. And the interest of the show really dwindled down really in Series 9. That was when it really hit the fan of just, this is no longer a good show, and this era has a lot of problems. And that's all it is to it, and that's a real shame, because I think Moffat has the ability to make some of the best Doctor Who stories we've ever seen. But when he doesn't really put the effort in, it becomes bad. It becomes real bad, and there's no real excuse for it. And it's a shame because, like I said, actors like Matt Smith and Capaldi, they are so good when they're at their best. When they're at their best, they are so good. But when they're at their worst, it's some of the worst TV you can watch. And it's more to do with Moffat than it is them, because the writing just doesn't support them. And that is a real shame. But yeah, I kind of vented for 30 minutes about why I think this era, Moffat era, is quite bad. Yeah, like, maybe I'll get a lot of hate for this, and to be honest, I don't actually really care, because I feel like in future stuff I can sort of go into depth of why I believe this and give, good arguments for it. But this is more of a summary of why I think this era just isn't very good. But yeah, I hope people were able to enjoy this. I know this is quite a negative video in a way, but that's kind of what you do with unpopular opinions, maybe. But you can have unpopular opinions that are positive. But yeah, and that's sort of me done with this. Yeah, I think the Moffat era is quite bad. If you would like to let me know if I'm wrong or right, and you can leave a comment down below. You can check out my channel, Eirich, where I do videos on Doctor Who from time to time. You can check out, hopefully soon, some more videos from me. And I hope the rest of you enjoy the Advent Calendar. There's a lot of good content coming out soon with these next couple more days till we get to the 25th. Hopefully I'll see you again in this Advent Calendar soon. Hopefully, maybe. Ooh, don't know. I don't know what other videos I could be in. Yeah. But thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed today, and we'll see you tomorrow for day 17. We will see you then.